right off the cuff, just kind of like spitballing here, I would say Elton John is better than... Hey guys, what's going on? So I wanted to share with you, I just got done playing the Elton John Pinball machine by Jersey Jack for the first time. Put in maybe 15 or 20 games on it. My highest score was about 50 million, which took me a while to kind of learn the game to get to the point where I can get there. And definitely will be coming back to play some more because this game is a lot of fun. So let me kind of walk you through my first experience of the game. Now, I have watched some streamers online play this game, Flipping Out Pinball, the actual YouTube channel. This guy Joel, really cool guy, and he streams Elton John. He did that a few weeks ago. So I had heard a little bit about some of the lingo, some of the shots, and I couldn't really remember all that. But playing it for the first time, I definitely had a much different experience than just watching streamers. You know, I've done that before, where I've watched some streamers play some games, and I really studied it. And then when I played it for the first time, it felt like I've played it before. Not like this with Elton John. Experiencing it yourself is quite different. So I was able to unlock multiple multi-balls. And playing it and actually seeing it for the first time gave me a whole new perspective of the game. There's a lot of wireform on there. There's a lot of ramp shots that wind around, and you got to really track the ball. It's easy to lose track because it flows so well. One of the coolest things about Jersey Jack on this particular machine is the way that you release the ball, the way that you plunge the ball. It actually goes up a wireframe and then comes around the orbit. And then it comes conveniently to you to the flippers, and then you can kind of pick your shot where you want to go. There's multiple ball locks, so there's like a scoop in the right-hand side that's like the crocodile, and it'll call out to you like aim for the crocodile, and then you can ball lock 1, ball lock 2, and I thought that was it. There's just this scoop, and there's a ball lock there, and I guess I wasn't paying close attention to the stream, but there's actually a ball lock on the piano as well. You can wind around there, and I'm not really sure how I unlocked that, but I was able to ball lock 1, I think 1, on the piano, and I was like, oh, it's got this whole groove in there. I didn't even see that. So I just thought the piano was something you could, it was just almost like decoration, and Elton John would turn his head and sing, but no, it's much more than that. So that was a lot of fun. The Rocket Man multi-ball, when I was able to get that, there's this tile on the right-hand side, and I love like an inline tile target where you have to knock down the tile and then proceed further where that ball is, and that's exactly what Elton John has. And it's right underneath where the shooter lane is at. So really cool that they put that there. You hit that tile, and it unlocks this extra spot, and then that's where you get that Rocket Man. So it's like your ball actually launches with a rocket, comes around, and I was able to do the Rocket Man, multi-ball, and that was a lot of fun. There was a kind of a little scoop on the left-hand side that was kind of hard to backhand. It was kind of hard to get over there. I was able to get it a few times. And then there's some windy parts and some bumpers that are like underneath Elton John, the actual piano. That's really cool. So I didn't deep get into the code and understand like how the songs work. Like, do you get to pick the song? I was mainly focused on the play field and not really paying much attention to the gigantic screen that these Jersey Jacks have. But it looked as though as I was progressing through the game, I don't even think I really got that far on this first session, but it would go through a number of hit songs, and it made me realize, yeah, so I love Billy Joel. It's one of my favorite musicians of all time, who's also a piano player, but Elton John is like a secondary favorite. I've never seen Elton John live, but I've seen Billy Joel live many times. But Elton John has some classic songs, and they're all here right in this Elton John Pinball by Jersey Jack. So that's really cool. Now, I've heard rumors that this machine hasn't sold very well, and I also heard that Guns N' Roses also didn't sell very well. So my local pinball retailer, which is actually the owner of this pinball place called Operating Pinball, where I played this game, Operation Pinball is the local distributor. Fun fact, the owner, it's a husband and wife. The husband's a doctor, so that's where the name Operating Pinball, I think he's a surgeon, but there's all of these like medical equipments that are anatomies of bodies throughout the the arcade. It's pretty cool. But anyway, they were telling me a few years ago, like right after Guns N' Roses was available, that if I wanted to buy a Guns N' Roses, they'd give me a really deep discount. And I think even as of right now, the Guns N' Roses is going for like $8,000 or $9,000, where originally it retailed for thousands more. There's this big question of, are we going to see that same type of discount off of Elton John? Supposedly the Elton John's isn't selling very well. The machine is very beautiful. The limited edition that I saw, I think it was $479 was the number. You know, it sparkles. The side art is completely beautiful, and the light show that is on the inside is pretty incredible. It is the best Jersey Jack that I've ever played. The song choices they do are really good. The tie-in to the music, Yellow Brick Road, the crocodile, you know, and then the tiny dancer, and then him playing on that piano, that grand piano, the fact that there's multiple ball locks. And what I've heard, I don't have a lot of experience with Jersey Jack, but I have played Guns N' Roses and Toy Story quite a bit, and this game does play a lot better. I like how they incorporated the plunger on the right-hand side. On Guns N' Roses, for example, I kind of have got used to a lot of the games from the 90s that I play, or even the newer Sterns, that when you pull that plunger, like, it has some power to it typically. Whereas with Guns N' Roses, no matter how hard you do it, just the game is not designed to give you a hard plunge, right? You're not plunging the ball very fast. Whereas like Foo Fighters, you literally go up a ramp and around a wire field back to your flippers with one pull. But with Jersey Jack, it's a little bit more weaker. And then typically those flippers don't really have as much power as, say, a Stern. They just have a different feel to it. And I've heard other people talk about that. And I really experienced that with this Elton John. You feel like you have a lot more control of the ball. I'll give you another example. On the right out lane of Elton John, there's these nice rubbers on that out lane. And you give it a little nudge, and that ball is like, you feel like you're like controlling the ball with a little bit of nudge. It may be a game that I would take someone and say, if you want to learn how to nudge a ball, and I'm not an expert at nudging a ball, but I do all right. I slap saved and saved a lot of balls that are going into the corner by shaking the machine and kind of get it up there. It's hard to do, but it's not hard to do on this Elton John, at least on that right out lane. Like, it's kind of bouncing around and it wants to go into the right out lane, but you give it a little nudge and it feels good because you give it a nudge and you literally see the ball moving because of the move that you made easily. Like, sure, all games, when you give it a nudge, you can see the ball react to it. But what I'm talking about is the ball reacts very quickly to your movements and seems to be like, oh, you're nudging? Sweet, we're totally going to hook you up with saving the ball easily. Now, that's not the case for the left out lane. That one was a little more difficult to save. And now it does have like a kickback on it, where as the ball goes down the left out lane, it'll kick the ball back to you. But the weird thing is on this machine, oftentimes it would just drain. Like, it would trigger the kickback, but it would not time it right. Most of the time, the ball would be lost. It would fire, I think it's called a kickback, it would fire that solenoid like a little too early, and it would cause the ball just to be like, yeah, that did nothing for me. Now, it didn't happen all the time. I want to say 1 out of 5 times or so, it actually launched the ball very quickly. And one of the times, it flew across the whole playfield. It was crazy and went up around the loop. And I was like, whoa! It was like all over the place. It's a little, like, that one, it landed powerful, like a little too much. The exact machine that I was playing, whenever I would hit these tiles, it has these like records that you got to knock down. I'd hit those tiles, and I would get a warning on the front that would say something like hardware failure. So it didn't really seem to affect the game, but it was kind of interesting. So I might mention that to the owner. It's like, hey, every now and then I get this hardware error, lamp error thing. It's probably something small and needs to be adjusted for the machine, but again, maybe it was trying to tell some lights to flash, and it was like, oh, I wasn't able to communicate with those lamps. But everything else was working out pretty good. Now, out of all the machines that I own about 7. Galactic Tank Force is my latest one. And right off the cuff, just kind of like spitballing here, I would say Elton John is better than Galactic Tank Force. And Galactic Tank Force is something that I fell in love with very quickly. I know that's controversial. Some people are like, that is the worst game of all time. It's probably going to be the worst game of 2023. But I really enjoy that game. If somehow I could have got Elton John for like 5, 6, 7 grand, somewhere in that area, that would be an amazing deal. The game is fantastic. But for me, I'm not going to sit here and own 30, 40 pinball machines. I got to have a limit. So loading up the card for operating pinball, $50 at a time, see if it can last me a month or 2 or so, getting a lot of plays on the Elton John. One of the problems with the brand new machines, they charge a lot, even at the arcade. I believe this is worth 20 points. So it's the most expensive game in the actual arcade itself. Other games only cost 10. So it's about twice as much to be able to play Elton John. But it makes sense. It's a brand new machine. They just probably bought 10 or 20. I don't know how many they bought of them, but they put one in location here. And it's the brand new game. They got to make their money, right? But after about 6 months, I want 3 to 6 months, I've seen like Foo Fighters come down on price. Venom will probably come down on price on this particular arcade. There's other arcades here in town where just everything's $1. Doesn't matter if it's brand new. Doesn't matter if it's a game that's been out for 5 years. It's always $1. Anyway, that's my, let's see, 11 minutes? 11-minute discussion about Elton John. Go check it out. Hit pinballmap.com. Go look in your area to see if there's any Elton Johns showing up in your area. Go check it out. Go play it. Come on. Get into the community. There's tournament communities you can go find on pininside.com. Pinside.com? Not pininside. Pinside.com. Go to tournaments. Check your local area to see if there's a league in your area. Check Facebook forum groups. There's ours in Des Moines called the Des Moines Pinball League. If you're in the Iowa area, go check out Des Moines Pinball League. We post about every month now. About every month we have a tournament in Ames. We have a tournament in Ankeny, and we're going to try to get a tournament also in West Des Moines. We might be able to do 2 a month in the year of January. Just last night we had our tournament. I got 4th place. I'm not super competitive, but to be able to go and have fun and get to know the people in the pinball community is a lot of fun. And for me to go from observing a tournament last year, just kind of hanging out, and then learning how often they do the tournaments. So going to this is now my 3rd tournament, and I got like 11th place and then like 9th place and now 4th place. I was able to get into the bottom 4, which meant I actually made $10. I made $10 at the tournament. So I lost $1 technically because it cost 11 to get in. The first place person got $70 for the tournament. Olivia is very good. Cody's the #1 player in Iowa. And then Maddie is just completely awesome. I was able to hang out with them for several hours. There was a lot of other cool people there. Met Drew, Nate, Matt came, who's from Ames, and he came from to the Ankeny tournament as well. A lot of fun. Support your local pinball community. See you guys in the next video. Take care.